Yo, what is going on, and welcome to another episode of the Urban Pitch Podcast, The Beautiful Game of Life, part of the Believe Network. I'm Ramsey Abushala, editor of UrbanPitch.com. Julio Monterosa, executive director of Vibes. What's going on, Julio?
Nothing much, man. I was part of a cool event yesterday. Football, like you're doing it next week.
Yep.
I won.
You won.
I won.
Let's
I had the best score. So it was a fun event. It's giving me World Cup is coming vibes. So a lot of more events are coming up. So I'm starting to feel like World Cup energy already.
Yeah. What was your score? What did you get?
So it went dark. So we went 6 holes. It's a par 3.
Yeah.
It's a par 3. So I think I was at 6 holes. I ended up with 26 points.
26
so that's
strokes.
Yeah.
So 18 is.
Yeah, I
right.
was like plus 7.
Yeah.
It was dark though.
Plus 8.
Yeah. It was dark. So I'm gonna use it as an
right.
excuse.
Yeah.
And then I didn't.
Hey, you still won, man.
Yeah,
you still won.
I didn't warm up, so like I was not hitting no long balls. I was
right.
So I'm gonna give you advice. I'm gonna give you the clue how to win it next week.
Yeah.
Keep it on the ground. Just pass the ball.
Right.
It's a par 3.
Par 3 course, right? It's all about precision, not about power.
Yeah. Because
right?
with the power and it's like you've been a rancho before.
Yeah, I've been a rancho.
That executive course is really narrow. So
right.
The minute you mishit it, is going all type of ways.
All right, yeah. It'll be my foot golf debut, but I'm confident in. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
I'm gonna go just so y'all hang out and I'll play this time.
Okay.
I'm just trying to scope the competition.
Yeah, nice.
They're gonna have a finals week. So every winner from each week, they're gonna invite all the winners back to do the final. So
cool.
I want to see who's a threat.
Yeah, nice. Okay, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. Shouts to Spencer for putting that together.
Shout out to Adidas.
But we have a good episode today. I had a conversation with Spencer Richey, former MLS goalkeeper, who's now ventured into real estate investing. Had a really good conversation with him. That's coming up later in the show. But first, we have a lot going on in the world of sports, in the world of soccer, and we wanted to just, this is our first time kind of doing a half and half episode like this where, Spencer's got a million things going on. He's got 2 young kids. Yeah. He's got his businesses, so he wasn't able to do our normal recording time. So I spoke with him, but still wanted to get in some discussion about the stuff that's going on in the world of soccer, or sports as a whole.
Yeah, because I feel like it's affecting everybody right now. From the NBA, now MLS is out here giving everybody paid leaves.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so and we're talking about sports gambling. And so this has been something that's been going on for the last few years, especially here in the US, where the laws have started to kind of become a little bit more lax in recent years. And that has led to a couple of scandals, like a handful of scandals in different sports. MLS has had its fair share. I believe in 2021 there was a suspension given out to Felipe Hernandez. Oh, yes. And so the big news though was the federal probe into the NBA with Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and a couple of other players.
Gilbert Arenas is the one snitching on everybody.
Apparently, he was. I did see that, but that has led to a bigger conversation that's been going on, right?
Yeah.
About the infiltration that we've seen. I mean, like anybody who's done any or just consumed any sports media in the last, I think 2018 is when things started to become a little bit more lax. It's all sports gambling. Like you watch 5 minutes of an NFL game, you see 3 Kevin Hart commercials for FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever it is that he's promoting.
Bet online.
Right. Even us as a podcast, we were accepting, sponsorship money from sports gambling. It's inescapable, right? Yeah. So the amount of money that's being poured into sports or media, like even DraftKings has their own media network, that Dan Le Batard is one of the most respected names in sports media is kind of the one of the main faces of. And
especially for a pod, if you get into that DraftKings like space, you're getting paid.
Yeah. I mean, like Underdog Fantasy has their own media network, so it's like it's hard to escape the gambling, whatever you want to call it, influence or presence in sports. And now it's maybe have we teetered too far on the scale? Like, is there going to be further regulations? Because it's becoming more common, right? At the college level, there's a lot of, student athletes, if you want to even call them that now, that are betting on whatever it is, you know, whether it be
parlay.
their own sports, or it could be MLB or cricket, or for who knows, you know,
women's volleyball from Europe. Like,
yeah, exactly. So
stuff.
I feel like that is part of, you know, you're in college, especially now. Like, it wasn't around when I was in college, but I feel like that's a huge thing now. It's like parlays, like, you know, athletes have been vocal about, you know, getting abuse from, you know, in their DMs from guys being like, hey man, like you messed up my parlays, man. Like, come on, like lock in, like what's going on? So what's your take on all this, the increasing presence of sports gambling in media and in general?
It opens Pandora's box into player. We've seen NBA players bet on winning and losing games that they are a part of. So that's what makes it crazy, because it really could affect the games. I experienced it, but I know Sabro, the 2010 World Cup qualifier, they got caught selling games. It was like a big scandal. Had a whole ESPN Deportes documentary like about it. So it's not gotten to that level of people meeting in back rooms and cash being transferred over. But
that we know of.
Yeah, but it is like it though, because who was it? Michael Porter Jr. Came on the pod.
His brother Dante Porter was banned for life for the NBA, right?
Yeah, he came on the podcast, said an easy way to get your friend's money is to go under on turnovers and then make a turnover so they can get paid. Yeah, I'm like it could affect a lot of people, and like it's kind of cheating. So.
Yeah. I in general, like, I'm for, you know, if you're a consenting adult, you should be able to do it, whether it's, you know, like weed or alcohol, cigarettes, like the world of vice.
Meth.
Right. you know, like, I mean, even that, if you're able to control it, like, you know.
No, not at all.
If you're able to control it, you know, like.
I haven't seen nobody control that. Hey, but if it.
Like, you know, in general, right? I have more of whatever you want to call it, libertarian or view of, you know, adults should be able to do what they want if they're able to control themselves.
Exactly.
However, this is starting to affect, and this has gone, this
way
has,
too far.
in history, like in sports, like in the history of sports, there's been like various scandals. Like even before it was made, you know, a little bit more legal across the U.S.
Guy.
Pete Rose is banned from the Hall of Fame. You know, Tim Donaghy, the NBA referee, was rigging games. Like,
hey, I don't care. I'm a big fan.
We got a Game 7 out of that. As Lakers fans, you know, we got a Game 7 out of that.
We love Tim. Tim, I'll buy you dinner, Tim.
Hey, and for all the Kings fans, you had Game 7 at home that you guys blew. That's on you.
Fault.
That's on you guys. You know.
You love me some Tim.
Yeah, so he got maybe a bad rap.
Yeah. He bad call of judgment, I'll say.
Yeah, you know.
But like, it could have been 50-50. That could have been a foul.
Nah, man. I mean, jokes aside, that was a very serious scandal where, you know, the NBA Finals the fate of the NBA Finals was being, you know, like sullied by a bad actor who was, you know, who had different interests in mind. And so once you get into sports is like this, you know, there's this whole pure image of like meritocracy of, you know, this is something that, especially at the grassroots level, right, where there's no money involved, right? This is like something where, you know, for the love of the game, and, you know, like it's about failing and getting back up and doing all this stuff. But the more money gets put into it, and all of a sudden there's different, you know, interests involved, like, then it's the purity of the game goes away. And with sports betting, you see that a lot more. And I don't know, man, like, I think it's hard, because one thing that I was thinking of is completely making it transparent and making like all athletes, if they want to bet on sports, obviously, you know, you don't let them bet on the stuff that they're involved in. But like, let them bet on, if you're a pro NBA player, you should be able to, like, maybe if you want to bet on the Premier League, or you know what I mean? Like,
I agree on
that.
But
make that transparent.
Yes.
Like, make it so they have to like sign up, or like, you know, just regulate it a lot more. Like, you know, like the stock market has the SEC.
Yeah.
Like, make an SEC for sports gambling. I don't know. Like, if that's realistic. I don't know. That's dumb.
You just can't bet on the league that you play in, not game, the league, because You hear these athletes all the time.
There's inside information.
Yeah,
and all that stuff.
NBA brotherhood, like it's a brother, whatever league is always like EPL brotherhood. You're part of my NBA brotherhood, NFL brotherhood. So yeah, if you're playing in that league, there's no way you're cut. Yeah. You cannot bet because you're gonna see that. Hey, how did LeBron practice yesterday? He still got that sciatica pain shooting down the.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
but politicians are able to they make laws that make it advantageous for certain companies, and they have there's this whole thing, like certain names that all of a sudden they became politicians, and their net worth skyrocket, and you're able to. I saw this on Instagram. I got a targeted ad. I don't know why, but it's like you can. There's like bots that will make your portfolios identical to certain senators, so you can invest like certain senators. So like I don't know how that works, but
yeah, I saw that I forget the company's name, that basically like it shows you the trades that certain people do, so you can follow them. Like
so it's like you can have the same trades as, which
I don't know if I want that.
But like I don't know, man, like it's there's a huge can of worms that we opened up when sports gambling was made legal here, and in the UK they're trying to get away from that because betting, like what's the big Paddy Power is like that's like they're huge into sports betting, and they're huge into soccer, and they're sponsoring a lot of teams. There's billboards all over the UK and Ireland of this thing called Paddy Power, and it's a betting. I don't know exactly how it works, but you're starting to see them start to pull back out of that in the EPL, that you can't have a gambling sponsor starting next season on the front of your shirt. So I don't know what it's like in the championship. Maybe in the championship you're able to, but in the Premier League starting next season, I know there's a lot of betting sponsorships, and I know this because they have the worst logos and they ruin jerseys.
They do ruin jerseys.
But starting next year, they're getting rid of that. Which, look, man, I don't know. It's gotten. I think it has gotten too far to where people are like putting their life savings in sports. And like, have you watched The Sopranos?
No.
There's the one guy in The Sopranos. His last name is Ramsey. I know this because he owns a sporting goods store, and it's like Ramsey Sporting Goods. It's the guy. I forget the actor's name. He played in the Terminator. And so he's basically this degenerate gambler, and Tony Soprano and Richie Aprile just run him dry. Like, he ruins his life. He has a kid that goes to school with Tony's kids, and like they completely exploit him, and they know exactly what they're doing by letting him in their games, even though they're thousands of dollars in debt with them. So like they take a sporting goods store, they take everything from him to the point where he at the very end he has nothing. And so like that's the type of stuff that on the bad end, like on the bad end of the spectrum. On the good end, it's innocent fun. It makes sports more entertaining to watch if you have money on it. I understand that, but there is like a nefarious, it's like the gambling companies, they know that it's addicting, and they prey on that. And a lot of these sports are they're marketing to younger kids, once you turn or not younger kids, but like younger adults, to where a lot of people I know in that younger demographic, they're super into like I've never done it, but like they're super into like all these different DraftKings, FanDuel, or whatever it is, Bet Online. Like I don't know, like they're all into that stuff where it's like almost ubiquitous.
Yeah, no. If I see the group messages, they always talk about the parlays.
Yeah.
It didn't hit. Yeah. It's always an almost, man. My friend group's parlays. No. Don't take advice from none of those guys.
The parlays is where they get you.
5,000.
Yeah, the parlays is where they get you. And like
$1, you're gonna become a millionaire. It's not gonna happen, bro.
Yeah. What's the B-Hen? He's like, PJ Tucker, 5 threes, put 1,000, you win 5 million. That's one of the funniest, that's one of the funniest podcast clips of all time. But I don't know, man. Like it's gamifying sports is fun. It's fun to do it. Like I understand that. But
it gives the common folk. It makes them feel like they're actually part of the game because they're invested in it. But like you said earlier, we do need a regulation board to regulate these athletes, because it could go downhill real quick if it's not regulated. You see Michael Porter Jr.'s brother gone down for that.
Do you see some of the stuff like Thierry Rozier? the clips. They put somebody put a compilation of him.
Oh, just throwing the ball,
throwing the ball away, stepping out of bounds, taking terrible shots. And
and the passes looked like there was no angle there.
Bro, you are an NBA player. Yeah. That's not an NBA player move, And so I don't know, man. It's
see the thing, do you think he actually did it on purpose or because he's not a good player either way.
I think he's had his moments.
He's a one-on-one guy.
He's had his moments.
I want to see him as a passer.
Yeah, I think he had definitely a big stretch. He was with Charlotte. Yeah. I think when he went to Boston, it didn't really work out for him. But there were moments he had his own nickname, and he was Scary Terry for a while. Terry. And so I think he's a pretty solid to dependable NBA player. He's had a decent career.
He's like a Swaggy P type.
Yeah, exactly. Where you need 15 minutes, you need a couple of buckets put in Terry. Yeah. And he'll get you that. He had a couple of game winners. This is a guy who is an NBA pro. It's not Jonte Porter was kind of on that low end where this was
G League.
He was the last guy on the bench and then when he would get minutes, it was dude, why is this there? And that's how he got caught. Where it's why are there so many bets on this guy who doesn't play? And that got flagged, and so that's how he ended up getting
Oh,
there was a weird an unnatural amount of bets placed on Jonte Porter
plus 3 on shots.
Well, exactly, and so people were why? So obviously there's people watching at the highest level. It's like the pit boss at the casino, right?
Yeah.
Once things start to be a little funny, or there's certain bettors that have portfolios that are way high. They're much higher than the average rate. Then that starts to become suspicious.
Yeah, but even all right, being a player and playing the game, you could affect it, but even Chauncey Billups is in it. So, imagine how.
Well, I heard,
as a coach,
with him, I think it's different with him because he was hosting these poker games
with
that apparently were rigged.
Yeah, see-through cards. But UV light, you can see the.
That in itself is wild. We are going to need a 30 for 30 on this. There needs to be
there was a documentary because no, it wasn't a documentary. It was a podcast that I saw. It was a professional gambler. I forget the guy's name. But he said that they were inviting professional gamblers, poker players, to go to these games,
and they were getting
destroyed.
So they knew.
They said the only people that won were the amateurs and the pros were losing. Bro, I'm all right, how is this guy beating me? Something's up.
Right.
So it has to be regulated because anything can happen. These guys have money. They're popular people. If you're in the NBA, you're famous.
Who said the line? I need to get my bills up like Chauncey. Who said that? Or I got my bills up like Chauncey. I forget. I don't know who that is. Maybe it's an early A$AP Rocky or Joey Badass lyric. But
it's scary moments because I feel players of the caliber like Chauncey, Terry.
Chauncey Billups was a Hall of Famer.
He's Hall of Famer. So imagine
it's crazy that he's getting implicated in stuff like this because. I don't know, man. And it's I even spoke about this with Spencer later on where it's he had a vision for his post-playing career where it's he even was talking about I'm not a designated player. I had a stretch where I was a starter, but for the most part, I was the backup goalkeeper, and I knew that there was going to be a career after this. So he had that vision, and some of these athletes. And we talked about there's a delusion you need to have as an athlete. I'm going to play forever. I'm the greatest, all this and that, where they don't plan for life after the game. And all of a sudden, maybe they're hawking, stuff that they don't need, that they didn't anticipate. And they're getting involved in schemes or things that they didn't plan to because they weren't thinking about the future. And so it's just crazy to see now. There's so much opportunity. And being in the media space, almost every single podcast is sponsored by some sort of betting, and so it's kind of it's hard because a lot of this is being supported by sports betting, but at the same time there's a lot of money in it, and that's where the money is coming from for the most part.
You see Drake doing $2 million bets on
and so to say that we want less of that, that would be kind of counterintuitive, but there's a push and pull to it. There's a balance that needs to be met, and I think we're starting to go a little bit towards the deep end of that.
It's growing pains, and it's going to be growing pains until we figure it out. It has to get to a point where a LeBron James type of player gets caught, not just role player like Rozier or like.
Well, LeBron is doing stuff for like it's like LeBron and Kevin Hart are doing DraftKings. I don't know what it is, DraftKings or FanDuel or I don't know what one of those betting sites. No, for like commercials.
Oh,
they're on commercials together.
I've seen that.
Yeah, dude, it's like how much money do you need, dude? You're Kevin Hart, man. Like,
LeBron, yeah, he's playing
somebody.
years.
There's I saw a stand-up clip where it's like, dude. In the past, where it was like you saw people doing TV commercials, it was like actors that needed. And you're like, oh, like, yeah, sure, like, I could see so and so actor needing to this money. Fine, that's fine. Maybe I'll put some money on DraftKings. But it's like Kevin Hart. It's like I'm not giving my money to Kevin Hart. You know what I mean? Like I don't need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, Kevin got it. He has a whole compound.
I know, man. It's crazy. But I don't know. It's a whole can of worms, and the world of vice in general. Like you're starting to see a lot more. The legitimized versions of stuff that was kind of underground before, and I don't know if it's right or wrong. There's like a moral issue to it, and I don't know, man.
The crazy thing for me is like, the FBI hasn't been doing shit all year. They're going after athletes.
Oh man, Cash App is putting away Chauncey, man. He's doing his job.
The FBI guy, he's not doing nothing, bro. Release the files, man. Don't worry about my NBA players. Don't mess with my NBA players.
This is all to distract you from the fact that
man, release the files, bro. Leave my NBA players alone. You're messing up with people's parlays.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right. Anything else you want to add to the conversation? Let's end there. Yeah. Okay. Let's get into the conversation with Spencer Richey. This is great. Great talk with him about just where he's at in the world of real estate. Super interesting guy. I hope you guys enjoy that. Let's get to it. All right, we are here with Spencer Richey, 10-year MLS veteran, played for clubs like Seattle Sounders, Chicago Fire, Vancouver Whitecaps. Transitioned and made a new career for himself in real estate and real estate investing. So we're super glad to have you on, Spencer. What's going on, man? Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to jumping on. I've tuned in some of your guys' episodes, some of your clips on Instagram, so I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, this is the first time we've done a solo one-on-one interview like this.
More personable, it's more intimate.
Yeah. So, but we're doing this because, you've got a lot of things going on, young family that you're working to raise. And I know, you recently, or I guess not recently, but earlier this year, you stepped away from soccer to kind of focus on your businesses, the post career path that you've laid out for yourself, as well as raising your family. So what has that been like for you? Obviously it's not like you're retired and you're going off to Florida and playing golf every day and playing tennis and doing all this leisurely stuff that you associate with retirement. So what's that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for better or for worse, I think, kind of in the earlier part of my career, I was somewhat realistic. And again, that can come with pros and cons of sometimes you need to be delusional when you're a pro athlete. But, it was somewhat clear to me that there was going to be another avenue for me post playing, even while I was playing, to be able to set my family, my life, my family's life, all that good stuff right up for what I wanted it to be down the line 10, 20 years. So you got involved in real estate pretty early on and made it probably an easier transition that I think what a lot of guys deal with. But, family was at the core of it, but very much like most guys, soccer, family, business, financial considerations, it's all wrapped in together, right? So, yeah, it's been about a year since the end of last season. So, my wife and I, spoke a lot, not this past summer, but summer of 24. My daughter was almost 2 at that time. And, really like some of the travel just kind of started to wear on me. If people have young kids, like it's a super fun age and their personality is really starting to pop around that age. And I just, I just kind of lost, some of that passion, I guess, for the game. And I loved it. And and playing. It was truly like a dream job. But at the end of the day, it's, it is a sacrifice. And to be a pro athlete and to play at the highest level, like you have to sacrifice a ton, right? So it just kind of reached that point for me, um, that, it wasn't worth the sacrifice anymore, and that I was ready to move on and professionally speaking, focus on the real estate stuff that I had been working on for the past decade. And honestly, man, I haven't regretted it for a day. I still miss some of the, can I swear on here, or is
Yeah,
that
yeah. I mean, so we do it through YouTube. So like,
okay?
feel
I'll,
free
I'll,
to speak candidly, and then
okay.
we'll handle it on the back end.
I'll keep it PG-13, but just something like the BS in the locker room
Yeah.
and the guys and the day-to-day stuff, right? I mean, even preseason, I loved all that stuff of being able to spend time and play cards and games and just all the banter that goes with it. Like that stuff I miss, right? But um, having my weekends back to spend with my family, and I have my girl's 3 now, and we have a 3-month-old, so it just very much felt like timing was right, and there hasn't been a day that's passed that I've regretted the decision. So
Mm. Yeah, and so you said that you've been kind of planning for this, and that's a very measured approach to it because, I mean, I played college baseball, and throughout my entire, baseball career, I thought I was going to be playing forever. And I played at the Division 3. Like it's not even a high level of so like looking back on it, like I was delusional. And there's like a certain level of delusion that you need to be an athlete at any level. But
yeah.
when did that kind of your post-career planning start for you? And was it always going to be in real estate? Was it always going to be on the business side? Because I know a lot of players try to stay in the sport after they're done.
Yeah, and I would say it probably started in like 2016, my second season. Not necessarily where I was like, oh, the end is near, my playing career. At that point, I was still like, I want to go to the Premier League. Like
Mhm.
that was, some of that delusional mindset that we talk about with athletes, and where I think there's a blessing and a curse to it. Um, but really, it was in 2016, my brother came with me to the idea of buying a rental property in Seattle, and I had like maybe $15,000 to my name. And I was like, sure, here you go, buddy. And so we did that. That was really my first exposure to it. It was a show at the beginning, as anything is when you first jump into something that's fairly complex, but really like became infatuated with it. And over, the 4 or 5 years to follow, I continued to buy some properties, with a business partner. I bought some deals with guys that I was playing with. That was a really cool, um, relationship that I had sometimes with guys. If they heard I was in real estate, they wanted to get into it. Maybe they wanted to acquire the knowledge, or maybe they didn't, care about it, but they knew it was a savvy investment play. So really, it was 2016, and then it just slowly built after that. When I signed with Chicago in 22, I signed a 2-year plus one option. And even then said to my wife, like, um, we were starting to try for our first kid, and I was like, I just want to let you know that, like, I could see this being my last contract,
Mm.
because I was just like, I loved being a dad. I loved having my weekends when we get a Sunday off, like, it's the best. Um, and so, really, it started more or less 9 years ago. It wasn't until probably 22, 23 where I really kicked things into the next gear of like, all right, let's really start to figure out here, what do we need on a monthly basis? How can we generate that through real estate? And then long term of being able to, live the life that we want in 5, 10 years, and be in a place to support our kids and their dreams and their college, and all those things that I want to be able to do. What does that look like as well? There's, I think, a different vehicle for the short term, and then there's kind of a longer vehicle at play here, for the longer term wealth building.
Yeah, and you see so many stories of like athletes post careers because like even if you like you played for a long time and you're still a young guy, like much longer than the average sports career, and you have if you're blessed enough to play into your 30s or sometime I mean if you get like Messi into your 40s or almost like, there's still so much time left after that for you, and you get used to a certain lifestyle, and all of a sudden it's like the checks aren't coming in like they used to. So like you
Yeah.
see so many stories of athletes going bankrupt or having to do other stuff that they weren't necessarily planning on. Was that something that was always in the back of your
Yeah.
mind as well?
Getting into the gambling industry.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and like to be transparent, I guess from that side of things is it might have been a different conversation if I was like, say, a designated player, right? Like I don't want, I think that's an important component to bring up of like I was, I had a couple careers years in Cincy where I was a starter, but like largely I was a, backup in MLS. And although the money improved, it's not like, it wasn't oh, like, am I walking away from this $1 million, this $2 million or not, right? I was making a couple 100,000, which is still great money and like, still able to be able to live the life that we want. But it's an easier decision at that point, right? Like that doesn't carry as much weight as,
Right.
if you're not to mention in soccer, but like in some of these other sports, right, where guys are having to choose between spending more time with their family or paying for $30 million a year, right? It's a much more difficult
Right.
decision to make. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think kind of going back to the earlier point of like there's a benefit and a downside of having that very realistic approach to things of knowing that I had something to fall back on in the event that after I played with the Sounders in 21 that like there was no more contracts on the table or as opposed to someone who does have that delusion of like, no, I'm playing in the Prem or, I'm going to play till I'm 40. The upside of that is you pour 100% of you into the game and into your craft, right? More likely than not. So, I think that's kind of the upside and the downside of those situations. And to me, there was just a lot more upside to walking away when I did. We we flirted with some teams in the off season. I had an offer from one, so I did have some opportunity to continue playing in MLS. But it just at the end of the day, just for where I was, we wanted to have another kid in 2025. It just was a juice isn't worth the squeeze type
Yeah.
situation for me.
Yeah, yeah, and I know you said you mentioned you missed the banter, the traveling with the team or hanging out with the team playing cards. Is there
Yeah.
something like specific that you miss? I know the playoffs are going on right now. Like, do you watch? Like, how involved are you in like the soccer of it all? Now that you're a
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, I've been keeping up a little bit, not a ton to be honest, especially again, like I'm, very focused on the real estate stuff for most of the
Sure,
day. And
sure.
then, kids are, my oldest is home from daycare around 4 or 5. And, I try to you know, mostly she doesn't let me watch soccer, as she calls it.
Yeah.
Like, try if the TV's on, she wants it to be Bluey or Miss Rachel or something,
Mm, mm.
But no, I still keep up, and like I'm so close with a lot of guys. I'm back in Seattle now, where I grew up, with a lot of guys from the team here, and I'm keeping up with Chicago. It's very cool. They made the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still keep up and watch here and there when I can, but I'd say I'm very much a casual fan now
Mm.
because it's just, two young kids, it's tough. You don't get to watch much of anything that you want to watch these days. So
Yeah, there's definitely that parent bubble that you get into. I'm not there quite yet, but
yeah,
I have friends with kids and I can see that, like it's the references are more towards, like you said, Miss Rachel, Bluey, Danny Go, like
yeah,
all of these like things that I've no idea what they're talking about, but like,
yeah,
amongst the parent circle, like they have these like little references here and there.
yeah. And I think like I don't know if I totally touch on your first question of like what do I miss
Yeah, yeah.
specifically. It's hard to like really put a finger on it, but it's just all of like the little moments on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, like some of the training rooms that I was a part of, like, chirping athletic trainers, they're chirping you, stuff in the locker room. Like in Chicago, Uno was like our big card game that we played and it got super intense
Oh
and
yeah.
like so it's just little stuff like that on a day to day. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of sports culture, right? Is um that camaraderie is super important, and the best teams usually have the best camaraderie, right? Of guys that can keep things light, keep things fun in the locker room, keep it an environment that guys look forward to coming into on a day-to-day basis. So it's a lot of that little stuff. And if you've been in locker rooms before, I'm sure baseball is similar, where guys are chirping and this and that. So that's the stuff that I would say that I miss the most.
Yeah, yeah. I brought this up on the podcast before, but the greatest sports quote, maybe not the greatest, but one of like the one that's kind of stuck with me the most over the years was it was during March Madness, and a team just got eliminated, and they're doing like the post game press conference, and these guys like they're in tears. They just lost. Their college careers are over. They're gonna have to get into whatever it is, finance, real estate. And the kid is like bawling. And the question was from the reporter was, what are you gonna miss the most? And he looks up and through tears just goes, just eating with the boys, man. and
Yeah,
and like it just
true.
hits so much, like it resonates so well, because like that really is the stuff that you miss the most. And like when I
Yeah,
meet up with my teammates for like alumni weekends or whatever, that's all we talk about is like, remember when we used to go here after the games, or after we win a series or whatever. So that's the stuff
yeah,
that really you miss the most. And you can't really get that anywhere else,
yeah.
after
And it's
after
not, yeah, and I would say it's not even just, I mean, yeah, I played 10 years, but it's the same in college, like, or in high school, like at a certain
yeah,
point,
yeah, yeah.
everyone goes through that transition, right? Who was involved in sports. Mine was fortunately a lot later than most is, but um, it's a similar sort of identity shift and coming to terms with that life's just going to look a lot different moving forwards.
Yeah, yeah. So now that, because you were working on, you had your investment properties while you were playing, but now that you are doing this full time, what are some of the projects that you're working on? I saw that you have the house in Texas, the hidden hotel missing, or missing hotel,
Yeah.
the resort that you have. Is what kind of projects are you working on now that you have more time to focus on real estate?
Yeah, so that's definitely my primary source of time is I'm a partner along with three other guys. Our firm is Clearline Capital. It's a boutique real estate investment firm, and our niche is that assets like missing hotel, what we call experiential hospitality. People have different names for it, micro resort, whatever you want to call it. So that's where I say I spend most of my time. I have some side investments, some like infill development stuff that I'm working on here in Seattle. And then I have a Airbnb property management business in Seattle as well. That house that I mentioned earlier that my brother and I went in on back in 2016, we operated that as an Airbnb. That was some of my first exposure there, that has turned into a second property here in Seattle, also an Airbnb. And so, really, when Cam was born is when I started the property management business here, since it was low hanging fruit. I kind of knew how to run it, how to get the most money and run things most efficiently. And then about a year and a half ago is, when really me and these three other guys had this, hey, we're doing all this stuff on the side that's awesome, but it's not going to get us like here,
Mhm.
And so that was when we had the idea of let's come together and, let's get into the resort space. And so we have three hotels now, within our firm, and we're actively growing. So
Yeah. So when you say like experiential, like properties, what does that mean? Because like, is that like the first thing that comes to my head is like those kind of fancy Airbnbs with like a bunch of stuff on the property, like a basketball
yeah.
court, or like they have an arcade in there. Like what does that mean to you, and how are you executing that?
Yeah, so it's definitely a branch off that. I would say like a bit of a runway here is essentially, COVID happens, it forces everyone to travel remotely, right? Like that's all you could
Right.
essentially do. So a lot of savvy hosts and investors in the space, like they really push the boundaries on, let me build this like super cool tree house, or let me build this mirrored glass house like up on the mountaintop with sick views of the valley or something like that, right? And so people got a taste of that post-COVID, partially because, Airbnb had blown up in the late teens, but like that really put experiential hospitality, or, hospitality surrounded around nature, national parks, mountains, that sort of thing on the map. It's been around for a long time. Um, but not really put it on the map. And, combined with, I think, some of the societal changes of, people drinking less, your average, like Joe is wants to sauna, cold plunge, journal, meditation, right? That's very much a more common thing in society these days, especially in younger generations. And so, I think the best of those worlds, you take like the Marriott over here, which is your more flag box style hotel. It has brand standards, it has consistency, but it doesn't have that exclusivity and that autonomy that an Airbnb would have.
Mhm.
However, with Airbnb, there's no like property by property standard, right? Any mom and pop host can throw a house on there and Airbnb doesn't really regulate what that standard is. They do a little bit, not too much. So where experiential hospitality or branded rentals, whatever you want to call it, is kind of a melting of those two things where, the design, the amenities, the cleanliness, like that level of expectation is there while still maintaining the exclusivity, the nature immersion component. You get your own hot tub, you get your own cold plunge, sauna, etc. And that's really been, the creation of this new category. And it's not just us. We're not just pulling this out of our ass.
Yeah.
Marriott's invested hundreds of millions in the last couple of years, and just launched their own outdoor hospitality, sector in their Bonvoy program, private equity, public REITs, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of movement behind it. There's a lot of money flowing into it, and it just really aligns with what our strengths are as a group because we're longtime Airbnb operators.
Mhm.
We can kind of roll those same systems into this resort model and do it at scale.
Yeah, it's crazy how things shift and change, right? When I remember like when Airbnb was first kind of coming out, like we're it was like what like there was a lot of trepidation towards it and like oh
Yeah,
I'm gonna go in like a stranger's house, but then that kind of blew up and then hotels kind of came back after Airbnbs started to kind of peter
yeah,
out, and now it's like the meld of both makes a lot of sense and when you
yeah,
explain it like that, and like the Joe Roganization of everything where you're taking like brain pills and waking up at 4 a.m.
yeah,
to cold plunge, that's a huge thing. So that's interesting, but I think for our, at least from myself and Julio and Bridget, our two other co-hosts, we want something where we can kind of do that, but also still have fun and drink and have like that
yeah.
kind of party atmosphere and things like that too. So it's interesting to see just how like there's something for everybody now. Everything's so segmented.
Yeah, for sure. And like to your point, hotels, once, Airbnb started to pass some of the flag hotels and growth rate and sales rate and these other metrics, like hotels responded with some of like the tech check-in. They
Hmm.
spruced up all their apps so that you could pre-check in on the app and then go straight to your room and use your phone, right? Like hotels recognized it. But the reality is, you're sharing walls. You can't bring your own
Yeah.
booze to the pool. You got to go down at 8 a.m. to reserve the pool chair. Like there's some of those components, right, that a lot of people don't like. And so that's where we can, meet the two in the middle. And it's not everyone's cup of tea, right? Like at Missing, I would say probably 90% of our guests that stay there are between 25 and 45. We get a lot of couples, a lot of romantic getaways. It's called Missing Hotel, and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
pretty obvious in the name, but the concept is that people can go there, detach, find what's missing in themselves, right? And so we have journals in each unit where if people feel inclined, they can sort of write their tribute to the next
Mhm.
guest or to the resort staff. So it's a very, very cool space, and um, it's a blast designing it, operating it. We have a expansion that we're going to do for about 19 additional units, a couple cool water amenities that we'll add that will be really cool. And yeah, it's just a very fun, asset class to be a part of, to develop. And, fortunately for us, there's a lot of money that's flowing into the industry as
Nice.
well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm using you as a way to air my grievances, but the 3 p.m. check-in and 11 a.m. check-out, like we got to get that switched. Like I don't know when that became the industry norm, but like
You got to give the cleaners time. You want a clean
I guess
unit?
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I understand that. I understand that, but still, like
I actually prefer 11 and 4 to be honest, but
right.
leave a room for late checkout, early check-in if
Hmm.
somebody needs out.
Sure,
So,
sure,
but
sure,
I
sure.
hear you. I hear you. Yeah, we just went down to a friend's wedding in Bend, Oregon, to actually kind of a experiential type resort, Brasada Ranch, super super cool
Nice.
property. Um, and my mother-in-law was like, "Why can't we check in until 4?" And I'm like, "Well, they might need to, I
Yeah,
didn't actually say anything. I keep my mouth shut, but
sure.
it's in the back of my mind."
Like you said earlier, you got to pick your battles when it comes to that
Yes.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So,
Okay, ho- so bringing it back to soccer, you hear this stuff like about how sports prepares you for, it's kind of like a microcosm for society and how like it prepares you for anything in life. How did your soccer career kind of prepare you for your post, playing career in real estate?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I would say is that in order to not just, I mean, really at any level, even college, but I think the higher that you climb, talent, you know, it's relevant, but like the mentality behind it become more relevant, right? I think you can have a bad mentality, a great athlete, play high school. In college, you probably, the average of those two needs to be higher, right? And the pro game is no different. And so I would say that just from a mentality perspective of building resilience, grit, just being able to do hard things, right? Rehab injuries, a coach tell you suck, or a team cut you and having to bounce back from that, right? That I think is the biggest takeaway and why I think a lot of athletes are successful in their endeavors post playing, and not just pro, but like college athlete, those characteristics of having to endure really unfortunate circumstances that are out of your control and still bounce back and prove that person wrong, or like prove to the training staff that like this injury is not going to derail your career or whatever that looks like, right? So to me, that's the biggest thing, is just the belief in yourself, like the unwavering belief in yourself, and that ability to bounce back when life hands you something unfortunate.
Yeah, and I mean, especially as a goalkeeper, right? It's such a solitary position, and you in
Yeah.
your career have, bounced around like multiple different teams, and you mentioned that like you got a starting opportunity in Cincinnati, but it wasn't always like that. So like you
Yeah.
specifically had to deal with that in your career a bunch. How did that kind of shape you and your mentality to where you're at today?
Yeah, I mean, really my first like true test of my perseverance was really actually in college. I was in residency in high school, US national team, like get a full ride to school, starting as a freshman, like cruising through things, right? And um it was like the end of my sophomore year, I could tell that like my vision throughout the year was starting to go in the shitter. And it was so I went to an eye doctor. Okay, soft lenses, like every month, ramping up
Wow.
prescription, and um, and going into like my junior year, I was like kind of confident, but not. Towards the end of my junior year, I'll never forget it. We lost to Creighton in the NCAA tournament, and a guy scored a bomb on me from like 30 yards, but it went like basically right over my head, like a horrendous goal to give
Yeah.
up. And when I got home from Creighton, like I called my mom and I started bawling my eyes out. And I was like, Mom, I cannot see. And so we eventually went to a different doctor. And before I even sat down in the chair, he's like, I bet you have keratoconus. I'm like, what the hell is keratoconus? It's this eye condition, eye disease, where basically like the tips of your eyes, like you have really weak tissue there, and so you develop these cones on the front of your eye. It's like astigmatism, but concentrated to the front of your eye. And so, long story short, like I went from like the end of my freshman year having 20/20 vision to the end of my junior year, I had 2400
Wow.
vision.
Wow. So you're seeing at 20 feet what normal person sees at 400 feet? Is that how it works? Something like that?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was obviously nuts. And like towards the end of my junior year, it's like it
It
was
was
a weird
wild.
place. It was like everything was blurry, right? And I couldn't have gone any higher in the prescription. So anyways, like this doctor diagnoses me. I get these fancy glass lenses that I'm wearing. I'm rolling into senior year. Like, I'm on the preseason, like this and that, mock draft board, this and that, and like all is gravy. And the first game of my senior year, I get into a tackle with Kyle Laren
Oh,
and snap tip fib, like just right through my shin. And we were playing at UConn. And so it was like back to back of like I finally get over this eye thing,
mm,
and then I get my legs snapped in half. First game my senior year after being like, preseason everything, maybe top 10 pick, yada yada. So I obviously had to have reconstructive surgery, rod, hardware, the whole deal, and medical red shirt. I came back for a fifth season, a medical red shirt season, and like had a bad year. like I just like wasn't myself. So I fell late in the draft. I was like a late third round pick, which in MLS draft is somewhat
Sure.
late, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The hit rate of guys taken in the third round and beyond is not great. We'll just
Mhm.
say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was like truly like the biggest test of my like am I cut out for this or not?
Mhm.
And once I got through that phase, I got drafted to Vancouver, signed with the USL team, eventually earned an MLS contract, and then, from there was obviously able to make a great career out of it. But, once I got through those, it was like, fortunately, most of my pro career, I was pretty healthy. But really, those two kind of showed me, and I'll lean on that experience and that. Uh, Resilience built through that forever,
Yeah.
And so that's, for me was kind of my tipping point of like, all right, if I can do that and I can get through it all and get to the other side, then, I can handle just about anything.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a wild story. I listened to a previous interview you getting injured your senior year, but I didn't know the backstory about your
Yeah.
vision and stuff. So
The funny thing too is like throughout when I played in MLS, whenever we got our physicals in preseason, they would just say like, "Oh, do you wear contact lenses?" And I would say no. And then I would do the eye test and they'd be like, "Oh, you're seeing like 20/25, you're good."
mhm.
Like
Yeah.
moving on. So I just kept it from all teams. There are like apparently Steph Curry has keratoconus. When the doctor told me, he gave me this like list of guys. Edgar Martinez, who was an
Wow.
ex-Mariner,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
used to have it. And so, you got to wear these fancy, expensive lenses. And I'm not very helpful around the house when I don't have my contacts in because I can't see anything. But, there's guys that go on to have great careers with the condition. So
Yeah. It sounds like it only affects elite athletes from,
I
yeah.
guess, or maybe other people just don't, I don't know. They don't know they have it. I guess you would if it got as bad as
Sure.
mine did.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would
Yeah.
know. But
All right. All right, listen, Spencer, really don't want to take up any more of your time. Appreciate you, taking the time to speak with us. But before we leave, is there anything that you want to plug? Is there any, things that we should check out? I know you mentioned Missing Hotel. Um, is there anything else that we should be aware of?
yeah, I guess one thing that I haven't touched on, it's like, with my role with Clearline is largely on the capital side of things. So both equity and also the debt side, debt working with banks, securing financing. But, largely why I was interested in this role is because I mentioned before that like I thoroughly enjoyed talking real estate with guys about, what they should do with their money, and not advising them like I know everything, but just saying, hey, this kind of stuff that I'm into. These are the type of returns that I've seen or the wealth that I've been able to accumulate throughout my career. And so that is like largely where my passion is within real estate now is helping other people invest in real estate. And I've hit up some guys that I've played with before that are invested in some of our deals, and like Dan Kennedy was kind of one of my mentors when I was really ramping things up because he had a great MLS career, and now he's crushing it in the commercial real estate industry in Los Angeles, and so that's really like what I want to do now. I mean, yeah, we can go raise money from institutional investors. And although it's efficient, they maybe can write bigger checks. Like it's not as fulfilling as helping guys that want to invest in real estate but don't have the time or the knowledge or the capacity to learn, right? So, um, I guess, that would kind of be my plug is I guess if, anyone's listened to this and they do want to get involved in real estate, I'm happy to talk through things if they want investment opportunities. I mean, that's kind of what we provide, right? At the end of the day, finding investment opportunities is the hardest thing to do. You can
Right.
read books to death and podcasts, listen to podcasts to death, but at the end of the day, you need the deals to actually accumulate the passive income or the wealth, right? So that would, I guess, be my final conclusion.
Yeah, so any DPs that are watching this, hit up our guy, Clearline
Call me,
Capital, Spencer Richey. We'll put all the links in the description, in the show
call
notes,
me,
all that
baby.
stuff. But Spencer, again, thank you so much. Appreciate you for taking the time, and best of luck to you moving forward. We'll definitely, anytime we're in near the Austin area, we'll be sure to check out Missing Hotel.
Yeah, likewise. If I'm down, you guys are in LA, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Next time I'm down there, maybe we'll have to pop in and do it
For
in
sure.
person.
Yeah, in person. Yeah, always. That's always best. But thank you again, Spencer, and we're out of here.
Cool. Love it. Thanks, man.
Thank you. All right, thanks again to Spencer Richey for taking the time to speak with us. Just super cool guy, and we'll be checking out his property in Austin sometime soon. Hopefully, he'll be able to come out to LA and we'll have him in the studio. But for now, this was another episode of the Urban Pitch Podcast, the beautiful game of life, part of the Believe Network. Follow us on Instagram, urban.pitch, Twitter, urban_pitch, TikTok, YouTube, subscribe, find us on OneFootball, find us on Yahoo Sports. Do all that. It helps us get more episodes in the future. But until then, for Julio Monterosa, I'm Ramsey Abushala.
We out.
We'll see you next week.